When you paint intuitively, sometimes you have absolutely no idea what your painting is going to be about and what you want to do, and sometimes you have a vague idea. And in this painting, I had a vague idea. So what I want to do in this painting is use botanicals and maybe some sort of representational elements in an abstract painting intuitively. So I don't know really what it's going to look like. All I know is I want to combine these elements. So I'm embarking on a journey, another journey into the unknown. So let's see where this takes us. I'm starting off with just creating a surface. I'm building up a surface of layers of paint and ink and transparent sort of overlapping colours and different marks just to see what I can create. So having splattered a little bit of water onto this, onto the page, I can now scrape it away, and it just lifts off some of the paint and some of the dye that's been put there to create these little drops. And I really like this sort of layering up of transparent layers and just getting all these accidental marks working together to create that lovely surface. Okay, so here we are with a hellebore plant I picked from the garden, and I'm drawing it onto a frisket sheet. Now these sheets are paper on one side and a sticky transparent adhesive on the other side. So what I'm doing here is drawing this plant, and then I'm going to take a blade, cut out this drawing, and then peel off the paper that is the part of the frisket sheet, leaving me with the sticky sort of stencil that I can lay down onto my painted paper. So here it is cut out. You can see it still has the backing attached to it, and just to make it more manageable, I'm just going to break it up into smaller pieces. And that is the transparent sticky sheet that I can just stick down onto the paper. Now this is an idea that I've been working on in some panels, and it's worked really nicely. And so this is why I decided I would show you on the paper. But what happens is that when I apply paint over the top and then take the frisket sheet away, it kind of lifts the paper in a couple of places, and it's not a great look. So this part of it's fine. I'm painting over thick opaque paint now, in contrast to the dark surface that's underneath. I'm just sort of, with the colour shape, I'm just moving that paint around just to soften some of the edges around where I've put the thick paint, just to make that more integrated. And now I'm using the backing sheet as a stencil, and just seeing what sort of effects I get when I scrape paint over the top of that. Now I'm coming back to the hellebore, and I'm going to draw quite loosely some of the hellebore shapes into here, just really making this quite a loose representation of a plant. Okay, so this is where I'm going to peel off the frisket adhesive, and it's fine. It creates a really nice sharp edge. It's good in places, but in other parts, maybe where the paint, maybe I didn't leave the paint to dry long enough, and it lifts the paper in parts. But the effects are quite nice. I mean, I really like that effect there, where you've got the frisket shape and sort of loose line work, as well as transparent layer as well. So you can see here where those white areas are is where the paper has lifted off when I took the frisket shape off. So I'm just filling those in with a bit of red paint. And now I'm using a different type of stencil. This is a shape, so it's quite different and I want to create some sort of structure into this composition. So I'm using dark and light paint, and I'm just sort of adding different sorts of shapes so that I've got more to play with in this composition, to see what I'm going to do with it, where I'm going to go with this idea. So I'm keeping to a fairly limited palette, just these colours that I've already started, the greens and these sort of warm reds and browns. And I'm just moving this paint around with the colour shaper, integrating thick and thin areas, soft edges, hard edges. And now I'm going to add in a little bit of pattern, which is something I always love to do. So these are some stripes going in and disrupting the surface to make them not quite so even and equal, and just seeing what this is going to add to the composition. And I'm just making sure that I've got the same colours in different parts of this composition so that it's integrated. Pushing that back a little bit and bringing the pink in. I've got the pink in the stripe, so now I'm going to bring the pink into the rest of the composition as well. So at the moment I'm really just sort of trying to move between adding in more botanical references and bringing structure into the composition. So this is a repeated sort of wiggly line that I'm bringing in here. And I'm looking at where I've got lights and darks so that I've got an eye on my basic design for the painting here. So this is a light area, so I'm bringing in a light pink and taking it up to the top of the composition as well. And now I'm just sort of trying to make more of some of the details, some of these botanical shapes that are in the composition. Bringing in that curve. In this detail you can see the combination of loose marks and quite structured hard edge shapes, and these differences are really lovely sitting next to each other. So with all those curves and botanical sort of shapes, it's nice to have that sort of straight edge and structure. And having made those little brown marks, I didn't like them, so I painted over them and just kept it simple with a simple line and a loose mark at the top. And then repeating that in very different ways through the composition, just keeping it simple. And that's the final composition. So it wasn't exactly how I intended it, but I'm actually really happy with what I came up with in the end. The combination of loose line, botanical shapes, and then that structure that holds the composition together.